Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Sujeet Pathak. I'm a senior product manager at Amoeboids. And today's topic for the webinar is how do you generate release notes or reports using our app, automated release notes and reports. When in a particular situation where you are not necessarily using versions or sprints within Jira. That's the typical use case that we are going to discuss today. So over the period, while working with different customers of automated release notes and reports, we have come across many teams who don't use releases. Specifically, I'm talking about this particular feature in Jira, where you create versions and then you add issues to that fixed version. Then there is another similar feature in Jira which is called sprints, where again you can club multiple issues together, uh, multiple issues of a single release together within a sprint. But we have seen there are teams who don't necessarily use these features in Jira, and they club their issues together in a release in a different manner within Jira. So, in that particular sense, how do they manage and automate their release notes and reports? That's what we are going to discuss today. So this is the overall agenda of the session. We'll first discuss why there is a need to generate release notes or reports in such a fashion. Then there are a couple of features within ARNR, that is automated release notes and reports app, custom variables and spotlight issues, which will help you to go beyond versions or sprints and automate your release notes and reports. Then we'll quickly see a live demo of these features, and then we'll have a short Q&A session where any one of you have any questions, we can take those questions and discuss this, and then we'll stop for the day. So that's the quick agenda of the day. So first part, why there is a need to generate release notes and reports without versions, or for that matter, without sprints. So like I mentioned, there are multiple teams that we have seen over the years who don't necessarily, use versions or sprints. There could be multiple scenarios in which this can happen. I have just mentioned three of those, use cases on the screen, but trust me, there are more than these use cases where teams generally don't use versions in Jira. So first is, there are teams who work on CI/CD principle, where you work on a feature, and then as soon as the work is complete on a particular feature, you go on to release that particular feature on the production. You don't wait till a particular deadline where all the related issues are developed together, and then they are released to the production together. But as means on the go basis, you work on a particular issue, it is complete, you release it, then you go on to do the same activity. That's CI/CD way of working. Then there are feature flag based releases. So some teams are there who maintain different types of custom fields in their Jira. For example, there is a component field in Jira. So you just tie every issue to a particular component, and then you go on releasing component or feature based releases. You do. So you particularly don't necessarily club your issues within a version in Jira, but you club them together through a field called component here. Again, similar way, you can have other fields like label field is there, or you can have your own custom fields. Then there is a third use case that I have mentioned as an example here is client or customer specific releases. So you have a base product, and then you have customized versions of the same product for different customers or clients. And so in a single release, you basically release features for a specific clients or customers or there could be a situation where you do use versions in Jira, but within a single version, let's say you have 50 issues. Out of those, 10 issues are related to a specific customer, other 10 is related to a second customer, and then rest of the 30 are, applicable to all the customers. So if you have that kind of a bifurcation, how do you, automate bifurcating or generating release notes in a customized way to different customers. That can be another use case. So we'll see that in detail during our demo. So like I mentioned, there are several use cases where teams may not want to use versions or sprints for their release notes or reports, but I've just mentioned quick three of these for a quick understanding. So what are the challenges when you are working in such an environment and you want to generate release notes or reports without necessarily using a version or sprint? So first thing is there could be a manual task that is involved. So you have to first identify those issues with a particular Jira JQL search, and then extract that data into a certain format, and then pull it into within a particular document that you want to generate. If you are already using ARN app, then of course you would be setting up an ARN template like this. So I will just switch over to ARN app in another tab. So typically you would create a template like this in ARN app, and even if within our default templates, if you notice, we have these variables which are pointing to a particular version, and then there are other variables which are pointing to a particular sprint. But what if I'm not using any version or variable to club my issues together? So the only option that was there in front of me earlier was I would form a hard-coded JQL where I would directly specify my custom fields. Like, let's say I have a field called customer, so I will say customer is equal to and Edumax learning. So this is how my JQL would form. But the problem with this type of JQL within my template is this is hard coded. So right now I would create a JQL like this and I will run this template. It will give me data for the issues which are related to this customer. But the next time, let's say I want to generate release notes for a different customer, then my automation part is lost. So I have to come back to the template again, edit this JQL manually, and then select that different customer here, and then again generate output of that out of that template. So if I have to edit that template for every run, then the purpose of automation is lost here. So that was one of the challenge that many of our customers were facing, and that's when we started working on these issues. So these are the basic challenges uh, when customer face, especially while using our app automated release notes and reports without specifically using versions. So like I mentioned earlier, these are the two main features which we are going to explore today. They are fairly new. Spotlight issues is something which we have released just couple of not even couple of months, but just last month. And custom variable have been there for a year or so, and many customers have started using it quite well. So we will discuss the use cases around these two features. So what are custom variables? Basically, they are dynamic variables that you can define within ARNR app, and then you can map those variables with any Jira field uh, within your templates. And when you use these variables on the go, you can pass values to these variables, and they will basically pull data from any Jira field that you want. So like I mentioned in this example, if I have a field called customer, then I can use a variable against this field. And whenever I run this template, I just want to have to provide a value against this variable, which will basically replace within my JQL or in my template body. So we will see that in details. And then another uh, feature is called spotlight issue. So one of the use case that many of our customers had pointed out that they generate release notes for a single issue. So let's say there is a big new major feature that you are releasing, and there is a single issue, a story, or a epic that is created for that particular feature. Then they would want to generate a release note which is dedicated to a single issue, single Jira issue. Or even for that matter, if I have to generate a report out of a single Jira issue, what I necessarily want to do is I want to include let's say 10 to 15 different fields of that issue within my template and pull data from those fields every time I run the template. But the problem with our existing structure was the JQL section was at the center of our template builder, and everything would work through JQL section. And now, if I have to use it for a single issue, it was very tedious process to configure it. Of course, it was still possible to do it, but then the automation part was a bit tedious. So to address that, we have recently launched a feature called Spotlight Issues. So we'll see that within the demo section. So I won't be explaining this slide in much details, because I'm hoping that most of the attendees have already using the app, our app called Automated Release Notes and Reports. So we'll straight away, dive into the demonstration so that we can, get to the actual real use cases within the app. So I'm just hoping that everyone is aware of basics of this app called Automated Release Notes and Reports. You know basics of templates and rules. So templates is the place where basically you create reusable templates in different formats. So if you go to create template, you will notice different types of template formats that we are currently supporting, like email, PDF, Confluence, Slack, MS Teams, then MS Words, and there are different more MS PowerPoint, this type of templates that are currently supported. So you can create different types of templates as per your need, and these are reusable templates. So when you create a template, let's say I create a template like this for my monthly release notes, so I'll just name it something, and when I run this template, so this default template basically use versions. So it will ask me an input against version variable, and when I give that input, it will pull data from my Jira tickets. So this is a reusable template that I will use for my every release. And then there is a rules tab where I can basically further use this template within automation rules, and I can trigger those rules on different automated triggers. So that's the basic concept. If anyone is fairly new to the app, I'm just explaining it for the starters. So without further ado, I will move into the specific use cases that are pertaining to our today's discussion topic. So the first one that I want to discuss is, let's take an example where I want to send monthly highlights. So my use case here is, in my team, I'm not using versions. Uh, like I mentioned, my team is working on continuous integration and continuous delivery model. So in any issue that we complete working on, we just go on to publish it on the production. And at the end of the month, what I do is I gather all the issues which have been marked resolved within the last month, and I club them together and generate a release notes document out of that. That's the simple use case. So there is no version that is being used to club those issues together. So all I have is I have this resolved field in Jira, and I have added this criteria that resolved date range should be between this particular start and end date. So basically, I'm looking for issues which are resolved in last 1 month. So I got these 11 issues when I searched them through Jira. Now, if I have to put it into my ARN template, if I use it like this only, so if I just copy this JQL and use it within my ARN templates within the JQL section, then like I mentioned earlier, it would be a hard-coded JQL. So just quickly, if I have to show you, if I use a JQL section like this and I add this JQL, I'm sorry, then it would be a hard-coded JQL. So next month, when I come back to generate release notes, I would have to manually edit this JQL within my template and update these dates here. That's the problem. So to solve that, what we have is called custom variables. So you can see this tab already available within your ARNR app, besides this release pages tab. and you can create different types of custom variables. So currently we are supporting basically 4 types of custom variables, which is select list, number, date picker, short text, and single list. Multiple choice, sorry, single choice and multiple choice. So there are 5 types of variables that we are supporting. So you have to choose the type of custom variable that you want based on which Jira field you want to address. So for example, in this particular example, I want to use it against this field called result. So this is a date type of a field which contains date in Jira. So what I have done is I have created 2 date type of variables. First one is result start date and another one is result end date. So that these 2 fields basically give me the date range within which I want to pull data. And using these 2 variables, I have already created one template like this. So this template reads like release highlights for this date range, result start date to result end date. So I have just used, this is an email type of template. I have within the email subject line, I already used these variables. So when I run this template, these variables will get replaced by the values that I will provide to them. Then there is some introductory text. Again, within this text, I have used these variables within my, template body. And then there are a couple of JQL sections. One is for stories and another one is for bug fixes. So for stories, again, within the JQL section, the JQL of my JQL section reads like this. So if you notice, there is no version, there is no sprints as such used within the JQL, but all I have is my project ID, type is equal to story, and then result date range, result greater than start date and result less than equal to the result end date. So I have used those custom variables within my JQLs. So with this type of setup, when I preview this template, you will notice the difference here. Instead of versions or sprints, this template is now asking me input for those custom variables. So I already, while creating those custom variables, I had set up the default values of those custom variables. And you will notice those are already pre-populated here. So these default values serve 2 purposes. One is they come pre-populated here. Second one is they are also used for JQL validation in the background, so that your JQL is validated when you are creating the template. Now, when I click on preview, if you remember, within this Jira search, we had got 11 issues. I think 8 of those were stories and 3 of them were bugs. And now let us see what is the output of this template. So you will notice my email subject line reads like this. So my date range is now replaced in my email subject line. It is also has got replaced within my template text. And then you will notice this is the output of the first JQL section called enhancement. There are 8 stories which have been pulled into my output of my templates. And then below these stories, there are bug fixes section, which there are 3 bug fixes. Again, the release notes for those bugs have been pulled into my template. So this is how you can basically automate this thing. So you can now go ahead and use this template within your rule, and every time you run the rule, you will be asked to input this date range, and based on your input you can pull data within any date range. So if you want to do it a weekly basis or a monthly basis, whatever the date range you want, you can do this with this particular use case. So that's the first use case that I wanted to discuss about the monthly highlights. So let us move ahead with the second use case. Before I go to the next one, I just want to highlight that if any one of you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. I'm okay to answer your questions right within the discussion as well. The second use case that I want to discuss here is customer specific release notes. So the specific scenario here is I have a fixed version. So I'm using versions in Jira. But like I mentioned earlier, within my version, I have issues which are dedicated to different customers. So if you notice, there is a custom field called customers, and there are a couple of issues which are dedicated to this customer or a client called Green Tech. Then there are MedPro, Skybound, Edumax, and there are few issues which are applicable to all customers. So what I want to do is I want to generate, let's say we have 1, 2, three, four, and five. Five different customers who are involved in this release. So what I want to do is I want to generate five dedicated sets of release notes for each of those five customers. So in the green tech release notes, what I would want to include is these two issues which are related to green tech, along with these five issues which are related to all customers. Then again, for MedPro, I would want these two issues only, which are dedicated to MedPro, and five issues which are dedicated to all issues. Again, like for MedPro, I would not want these other issues which are not related to MedPro to be included into their release notes. So how do I achieve this? So again, this custom variable feature can be used here. So like you see, this custom field called customer is a single select type of a custom field in Jira. So because this is a single select type of field, what I have done is I have already created a custom field called customer, which is again a single select type of a custom field. So I will first quickly, show you the configuration of this custom field. So, so this is a custom field called customer. And if you notice the configuration, I have already added same options as options to this custom field, which are there in my Jira. So in my Jira, I have this custom field called customer, where I have these 4 or 5 different possible values. And I have created similar custom variable within my ARNR setup. And again, I have used same set of values as its options. And now what I am doing is I'm going to my template and I'm using that custom field within my template. So if you notice, I have used this within my template body. I have also used it in my email subject line. And most importantly, I have used it within my JQL section. So if you notice, again, my JQL says project is equal to project ID, version is equal to version ID, and customer is equal to customer. So it will necessarily pull data for this particular customer. So when I now, if you one difference here is I'm using both. I'm also using versions at the same time, also on top of it using this additional custom field here. So the system is asking me input against both the variables. First one is the version variable. I will select my version here, and the second one is this customer custom variable where I have these predefined values. So let's say I want to generate release notes for MedPro solutions. I'm just selecting that value and clicking on preview. So it will automatically replace this value with wherever I have used that custom field or custom variable within my template body. And again, my JQL output, you can notice it has pulled data only specific to MedPro solutions. And then there are general product updates. The last JQL section contained issues which are belonging to all customers. So I have two sets of issues within my template output. One is those changes which are specific to this client or customer, and then other changes which are applicable to all customers. So that's how I can quickly customize my release notes, which are targeted to different customers. So we are using custom variable, which is actually being mapped against different custom fields within your Jira. So that's the second use case that I wanted to discuss. So again, we talked about custom variables in detail. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And last one that I wanted to quickly touch upon was about single issue or spotlight issue that I talked about, which is the newest kid on the dock. This is the latest feature that we have released just last month. So like I mentioned earlier, there are certain use cases where you want to export data for a single issue from Jira to certain format like email or a PDF for different purposes, maybe for a report or release notes purpose. So you can do that easily using this new feature called Spotlight Issue. So when you create in a template, you would notice this new feature flag called Spotlight Issue. And if you enable this, then you would be asked to add Jira fields against the spotlight issue. So whatever issue that you want to generate report or release notes for, you want to add all the required fields here in this configuration. I have selected these 7 to 8 different Jira fields for myself here. So once this is done, then you can straight away head to design your template. So if you notice this template, there are no JQL sections used here. So I'm directly using my field variables within my template body. So I don't have to configure that JQL section and do the layouts and all those stuff. I can do that directly within my template body, because JQL sections are essentially to pull data from multiple issues together. But because we are not talking about a single issue here, so in this case, you can directly add those variables. So when you configure this spotlight issue and you add these fields here, those fields reflect in this spotlight issue field selector. And you can select any field. So let's say I select due date, then against each field you will get two variables. One is the value variable and another one is the label variable. So I have used label variable, and when I click on insert, it gets inserted wherever I want it to. So I can create any type of layout that I want. So in this case I have used this table layout, but it's an HTML template builder, so you can create any type of layout that you would want. So if you notice, I have simply, it's a weekly development status report which is being sent to a specific customer. And we are working on a specific feature for that customer. And so we are basically pulling data from a single issue within my report. When I click on preview, this system will now ask me input against this spotlight issue. So I have to necessarily select an issue instead of any version or any custom variable. So let's say I select this issue called MYSP4. Again, this is a new feature specific to Green Tech, and I want to send a weekly status report to them about what is the status of development of this particular issue. And I select this issue and I click on preview. So you will notice for each of these issue fields, the data from Jira has been pulled into, and it basically is an export of that single issue. So if you go to Jira issue of this SIM, all this information that is there, this summary, description, all these fields are quickly pulled into my output, and I have generated a report out of a single issue. And I cannot, again, like within the rules tab, I can use this template and then further automate this. So let's say I want to send such 4 or 5 different reports to different 5 customers every week. I can quickly create a single template for that. I don't have to create 5 different templates for each customer. I just have to configure one such template. Within my rule, what I would do is I would simply add 5 different rule actions, uh, uh, let's say email actions, and when I preview it, I will select 5 different issues, and then those 5 emails can be sent to different customers in a customized way. So that's how powerful it can be if anyone wants to use it like that. So let's take another example. Let's say I want to now generate release notes for a different issue or a report for a different issue. Then I will select another issue here and I will quickly preview. All my fields have been replaced. So that's the basically third use case that I wanted to necessarily discuss. We touched upon 2 main features here while talking about these use cases. One is custom variable feature, and another one is this new spotlight issue feature. So I think I would stop here for Q&A. If any one of you have any questions, feel free to ask. Unmute yourself. Okay. Anyone has any questions? I think only one participant is there. I'm not sure about your name. Do you have any questions, DJ Wash? All right, I will take it as a yeah.
I haven't got any questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. I think we can stop here then for the day. I just wanted to touch upon these use cases. I hope you got some value out of it. Any questions you have, we have in-app chat messenger, so you can reach out to us through that, or also you can always reach out to us through our support channel. So looking forward for more such interaction. Thank you.